From Willie Pete, trade back to 17, get Trey Hendrickson from Cincinnati, draft Omarion Hampton. Yeah, this has been a popular one, swapping 10 and 17. I don't think that's enough. I think you'd have to add another pick in there, maybe a third. But in principle, I get it. Hampton at 17, it's probably in the high end, but I think you're at least entering the window where I'd be okay with it. Yeah, I mean, look, if a 10 for 17 swap for Hendrickson's on the table, I would do that immediately. I'd be shocked if it is, but I would do that immediately. Atomic Bears, should the Bears invest heavily in Drew Dalman or a pass rusher? I think if I had to pick the two, depending on who the pass rusher is, I would pick pass rusher. But it depends who we're talking about specifically. It's a tough call. You need a center, certainly. You'd have to feel good about some stopgap options or a rookie. But I think I would lean pass rusher because that's a big need too. That's probably where I would lean. What say you? Bigger need, C for center, P for pass rusher. I'm going to go pass rusher because I think the Bears, especially with the Tooney addition, you at least feel good about the guys playing around the center. So I would go pass rusher, but center is obviously still a need. I'm not dismissing it whatsoever. Dennis, don't think Zabel gets past Seattle. Agree, Cullen. Producer Cullen, do you want to chime in over there? Do you think Seattle would take him at 18?
I think he's an option, yeah. Seattle's looking to improve the interior of the offensive line. Obviously, Zabel had a really great Senior Bowl. He's regarded as a high-character guy, as you mentioned. And, yeah, I definitely think he's an option for Seattle.
Would you take him or Tyler Booker?
I would actually lean either – I'd lean Zabel out of those two. But I think maybe Donovan Jackson potentially that high. I mean, I'd think about it.
He could go that high.
I'd think about it. But, yeah, I'd lean Zabel over Booker.
Okay. All right, next up here is Muhammad. If you look at post-Super Bowl winners as far as 2010, not many can say they got there because of running back. Barkley elevated the Eagles, yes, but let's not act like that team wasn't stacked. Running back should be last on our team's needs. Yeah, the team was stacked, but, like, when you think about the 2024 Philadelphia Eagles, what is the first thing that comes to mind? The first thing that comes to my mind is just over the course of the season, Saquon breaking long runs and breaking games open. Like, I don't remember a lot of A.J. Brown downfield catches. I know they happened, but, like, I think when Eagles fans look back at this team 20 years from now, Saquon's going to be the guy they remember. Now, obviously, they're loaded. O-line is stacked. Defense is loaded. Jalen Hurts is a good player. They got good players all over the place. I get that, but I also think you got to factor in where the Bears are right now. They have a second-year quarterback. Like, do you want to put everything on Caleb's plate right now? Like, I want to have a team that can run the football too. And by the way, Ben Johnson's teams in Detroit, they were very balanced. They ran the ball a lot with Gibbs, with Montgomery. I'll never forget week 1 last year when they go into overtime against the Rams. They just pounded Montgomery. Just handoff. They wore him down. And obviously the O-line plays a role, but a running back who can take a lot of carries like that can do that as well. So I'm not saying it has to be the top need, but I would like to get a guy who can run the football, especially between the tackles, and be a guy you can ride, especially in high-leverage situations. Subscribe to the channel. We will continue to bring you coverage this offseason every single day. News, rumors, free agency, draft. We got you guys covered. We're closing in on 118,000 subs. Would love to get there before free agency opens. Let's make it happen. Okay, Devo Miller, if you have an opportunity to move into the top 3 and draft Abdul Carter, would you consider it? What would a deal look like to get that done? Carter and Sweat would be nasty. Top 3, I think, is too early. Like, it's going to cost you 10 and your 1 next year at least, I think. Now, if there's a scenario where he gets to like 5 or 6, does that at least, like, is that on my radar? Like, if he gets past New England at 4, am I like, would I consider it? Like, would I trade 10 in 39 or 41 plus like a day 3 pick to move up to 5 and take Carter. I'd think about it, but I think top 3 is just too far to go. I'm not going that route. Alex Amerling, 10 in our third for Trey and 17. I'd do that. I would trade 10 and 72 for 17 and Trey Hendrickson. I would pull the trigger on that for sure. Get yourself an FGB t-shirt right here at chatsports.com/FGB. Link is in the comments and in the description. If you hate the Packers as much as I do, get yourself an FGB tee right now. DT, get Trey and draft your line on both sides. Fill in with actual quality vets on vet minimum deals. Quality vets on vet minimum deals. Kind of hard to find. We need to develop these young players. Bears have been bad at development. You know who a quality vet on a vet minimum deal is? That's like a Mercedes Lewis. Doesn't mean they don't have value, but like even like aging vets, like Calais Campbell last year, he is very old. I think he got like $5 or $6 million. Like, you don't get guys for $1 million that can really play. It just doesn't happen. Like, Zach Bond for $3 million last year is an all-time outlier. It just is. So, it's just tough to identify guys who are just completely lost their value, and you think you bringing them in, they're going to be really good players. So, yeah, I hear what you're saying, but that's easier said than done. Edward, draft Jeanty, trade Swift for a third. You're not getting a third for Swift. Maybe a fifth. And get Skattebo, that's a 1-2 punch. Yeah, I mean, it'd be fun, but like, Swift is a day 3 value pick with his contract. And if you're only getting a fifth, I'd rather just keep him. I think he can help you this year. So, will the Bears make the playoffs this year? Y for yes, in for no. Like what they've done so far. If Caleb takes a step, I think it's possible. I think the division's wide open. Okay, Winnie the Pooh Hole. What a name. As Bears fans, we should expect the worst, hope for the best, love your content, rely on you guys for all my news. What dat beard smell like? Let's see. Just, beard. Maybe a little bread Zeppelin, which is what we had for lunch. When it's thicker, that's when it starts smelling like what you ate for lunch. But it's not quite there yet. Todd, do you expect the Bears to make more cuts or restructure contracts to free up more cap this year? Certainly possible. We did a video on that. They could restructure a Montez Sweat, a Jalen Johnson, a DJ Moore. There are contracts they could restructure. Poles has typically gone against that to stay flexible in future years. But I think if you restructured like one of those, you're still pretty flexible in the future. It basically means when you restructure a big contract like that, it kind of pushes it back 1 year of when you're able to get out of that deal. So, like, hypothetical, if a guy's cap hit is $20 million and next year it's you can cut a guy with only $6 million dead cap penalty. Well, if you restructure this year, the dead cap is pretty much what it was the year you restructured, if not a little more. So it just kind of pushes that back. So you don't want to overdo that, but if there's a player you identified like, hey, there's no doubt in our mind he will be here the next year, then I'm more comfortable going that route. And I think there's a few players on this team that would fit the bill for. DC Viper, I'm probably in the minority, but I would probably rather trade down if Campbell is gone before 10. I would love to add more draft picks since we still have more holes to fill. Yeah, like, I don't think you're, like, in a huge minority. Like, I'd be cool trading down from 10, even if Jeanty's on the board. Be very tempted, but, like, if you found a good trade, like if some team at, like, 16 or 17, moved up and gave you like a second and like a day 3 pick to do it, like that's pretty tempting too. So like, I think the way the Bears have operated so far and hopefully continue to in free agency is like, keep your flexibility going into the draft. Don't pigeonhole yourself into doing one thing. I think that's how you always want to be going into a draft. So you can either go BPA, be willing to trade around. That's always an ideal scenario. Appreciate all the questions. A lot of good ones here on today's show. If we didn't get them answered, we can answer them on social at HGramNFL on Twitter and on Instagram. I'm going to work really hard to catch up on my IG DMs this weekend before free agency because I know there's a bunch I got to get to. So fire away over there, and we will get you back.